All right, so now that we've got our labels in here, we're ready to start making some calculations, getting some information in here. So one thing I want to do is I kind of want to throw in something in here for our job. So our job is kind of interesting because it depends on how many hours we're working that month, right? And then how much we're getting paid. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to insert a row above this. And the reason I want to insert a row above this job is because I want to actually put in here what I'm working that month, like how many hours I anticipate working that month. Okay. And then you can see that when I insert that, automatically the formatting from the row above it comes right on down and makes all of these green. Okay. So something I want to show you is I can take these cells, I can select them, and then up here you've got that little eraser tool that you had over in the font group on Word, but you can actually clear everything from the whole thing. You can clear just the formatting, the contents, comments, etc. But I can hit clear all, and that will allow me to get back to just regular old cells. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and put here is anticipated hours, right? So this is my anticipated hours for the month. Now, you can see that like anticipated hours is going over into column B, birthdays and holidays, entertainment, significant other. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take column A and I'm just going to make it wide enough to hold those. So I'm going to go up between column A and B up here, and I'm going to click and drag and make them wide enough to hold those pieces of information. So now I can type in column B and not be worried about it. So let's say, all right, you've got a part-time job. You're working like, I don't know, 18 hours a week, right? Because you've got school and stuff like that. So we don't want to say that you're working like all the time because that would be unrealistic. So you're working 18 hours a week. Now I can figure this out really quickly using the calculator here, right? I can make an equal sign, I can do 18 hours, and I can say times 4. Okay, so there's 4 weeks in a month. I'm working 18 hours a week. And so that month I work 72 hours. Okay. Maybe you work a little bit more, like most weeks you work 18 hours, but you pick up some days when you're on like Thanksgiving break, right? Because we've got that holiday, you've got conferences, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and add in, I don't know, let's say I work an extra like 12 hours that week. So I do 18 times 4 plus 12. And so I can use this just like I would a calculator normally. Just kind of keep that in mind that if I wanted to adjust these numbers, I would have to come in and do this again. So like, let's say in December, I know I'm going to work 18 hours for 2 of the weeks because we're on regular schedule for school. And then I'm going to add in an additional calculation where over Christmas break, I'm working like 27 hours a week. So I'm going to take 27 times 2. All right. So thinking about orders of operation with, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, you've got multiplication happening first, and then it's going to add them together. Okay. So that month I work 90 hours. And then let's say in January, I need to like get caught back up on my classes and all those kinds of things. So even my 18 hours kind of dies down, and I'm only working 15 hours a week, right? So I'm going to do 15 times 4. Probably should put an equal sign at the beginning of that so I can actually make it be a calculation. And I'm working 60 hours in January. Okay, so I've got calculations here. These are just anticipated things, right? Like this is what I am anticipating happening. And what I always say when we're doing anticipations is worst case scenario. Always do the worst case scenario because you never want to overestimate what you can make for money, and you never want to underestimate what you can spend. So I always say whatever you're doing a worst case scenario is the most important thing, because anything that's better than that is obviously going to be better than that. So always go with like, I'm going to have the lowest amount of work hours and I'm going to spend the most amount of money. So that way you have the worst case, I could afford this. This is what it would be. All right. So minimum wage right now is $12 an hour, right? So I'm going to create a calculation right here to take the job hours and multiply it by 12. So I'd like you to pause the video here and create a calculation in B5 to calculate how much you would get paid in the month of November for your job. So go ahead and do that. All right. So I'm going to put in an equal sign, and I'm going to take 12, which is the minimum wage, and I'm going to multiply it by the number of hours I work in November. So B4. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter for that one. So I'm going to make $1,000 in November. That's a good amount of money. Okay. Now, my question is, do I have to create that again for January and December? Do I need to go back in here, type another equal sign, type 12, multiply it by C4 again, and then do the same thing for D4? Or is there a way to utilize Excel's tools to get it to travel across? So remember, when you're creating these equations, this B4 is right above it. So if I take my entire equation and I fill handle it over here, copy it over here with the fill handle, I will have moved one column to the right. I will have moved from column B to column C. That means that B4, the reference, will also move from column B to column C. So it will change from B4 to C4, B being the column represented and the row represented of what I'm referencing, right? So I can take this and I can go into the bottom right-hand corner as long as I'm clicked out of the cell, and I can drag across with my autofill option with the crosshair, let go, and it will fill handle it across and figure it out. And if I double click on C5, you'll see that it also moved to C4, clicking the check mark. I can then double click on D5 and it also moved to D4. This is a really cool feature of Excel, right? Okay, so here's my next question. What if minimum wage changes? Okay, what would you have to do to make minimum wage change right now? Like, if I went in here and let's say I had this for the whole year, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we're raising your wage. Not even just raising minimum wage, you just get a raise, right? You get a 25-cent raise. Now you got to go back in and recreate it, right? If you think about it, I have to go back to B5. I have to double click. I have to change 12 to 12.25. Then I have to hit the check mark. It'll accept it. But you'll notice it didn't update C5 and it didn't update D5. So I would have to take this and I would have to fill handle it across again, overwriting the old information with the new information so that each one is 12.25 inside of the equation. Okay, so we had to click, we had to make the equation different, then we had to fill handle. That's 3 steps. Is there a better way? That's the question. Is there a better way to make it so we don't have to do 3 steps? We could just do 1. We're going to cover that next.